Hello, hello, everyone. Let's see, there's Nanette and Kelsey, Missy, Paula, Melanie, Lisa. Let's see, Vicky and Rachel. All of my friends are in the chat. Welcome, welcome, and welcome to everyone that will watch the replay later on. This is going to be a fun series because it's something that I do every year. And so Lisa and I thought it would be fun to share with all of you some tag making. We're going to do everything from simple quick tags to more elaborate, because I don't know if you're like me, but if I am taking a special gift, let's say someone invites you to a Christmas party or a dinner or even Thanksgiving dinner or something like that, you may want to take a gift and do a little tag or a little something to add to a gift that's a little more elaborate. And then the tags that I add to my packages and things like that, they may be a little more simple. That way I can mass produce them. So we're going to do a little bit of everything in what we're calling the 12 tags of Christmas. And so I hope you'll join me. There's going to be new product that you'll see from our holiday wishes release. I'm going to be mixing that in with some older things, some basic dies that we all have. And then along the way, I'll also talk to you about how you can incorporate these ideas to turn them into cards. So you could do a tag on a gift. You could do a matching card. So we're just going to talk about all the things. We're going to have a lot of fun crafting together. Before we get started, I just saw a fabulous card from one of our friends over in the chat. And this is Miss Lori's card. I know all of you chat with Miss Lori over in the chat, and she has created this fabulous, lovely layers deer card with some winter greenery. She's added some pretty snow. And then if you will check out that adorable little glittery Santa hat on her little doe. And I just saw this in our Buzzworthy Challenges group. Miss Lori shared that. And I wanted to share it with all of you because I think that this is so adorable and so absolutely fabulous. Miss Lori always does the cutest creations, but I just had to share that with all of you. Okay, so tonight's tags are going to be using, these are going to be some quick ones, some of our new embossing folders, because they're easy to add a lot of pizzazz into your paper, but not have to spend a lot of time. It's something that you can add to a gift. You can add to a bottle of wine, whatever like that. And it look more fancy than the time that we are spending on it. You could start out with pre-made tags. These are some of the distress tags. You can find different tags in all different shapes and sizes at craft and hobby stores. If you have a Michael's, a Hobby Lobby, anything like that. But that is an easy way to use your embossing folders. I've pressed the snowflakes into this one. You could add to from or a little sentiment or whatever, as I've done here. Now, this other one is the little pines, or the, oh my goodness, what is it called? Snow something pines. I always get the names all mixed up, but I know Lisa's over there and going to help me. This one I have pressed into a pre-made crafty tag, added a little bit of shading here and there on the pines and the pine cones and the little snowflakes or the snowballs. And again, easy, add a cute little sentiment or something. You could add your little to from, some pretty twine or ribbon, and then that is a pretty little tag with just pre-made little crafty tags. Okay, so tonight what I am going to do is I'm going to show you how I'm taking some of our dies. You could use any shape. So you could use a little rectangle, you could use a square, a circle, whatever you have. Most of us have some basic shaped dies in our stash. And this is going to be using some solid colored cardstock plus some of our new pattern paper. Now, what I have done is I have taken our Art Deco label dies and I've cut out two different sizes. So a smaller size in craft And then the largest size I have done in some of our beautiful pattern paper. Now, I almost hate to cover this up with the craft cardstock, but we're going to press the design, the snowy pines 3D embossing folder into the craft, and we're going to turn this Art Deco label into a Christmas tag. And then same shape, but I've done it kind of a different way. So I've cut navy blue cardstock out of that largest Art Deco label, and then used 2 different sizes to create a little frame. And this is some of our pinstripes and polka dot paper pad. And we've just made a simple little frame just like that we're going to add over the top. So easy peasy. So the first thing I'm going to do, let's go ahead and let's play with the Snowy Pines 3D embossing folder. This is the one that has all that really pretty pine and pine cone detail in it. And the only thing that I am going to press for this tag is my craft cardstock. And you can kind of look on here and arrange it, you know, however you want it to go. I'm going to flip it over and have it press into what's the good side of your die cut. And I want, let's see here, I'm going to arrange it so I get lots of those pretty pine boughs. And you can kind of see through there, like where it's going to cover the paper and things like that. I know I'm going to add some ribbon right up in here and what's going to be the top of my tag. And so I'm kind of keeping that in mind. I'm also going to add one of our older buzzwords to the front of this. And so I'm going to run this one now through my die machine. And so I'm just going to lay it down, put my plates on, and you're going to hear my die machine here for just a second while I press that embossing folder through there. And then as it comes out, let's get that. And then let's see what we have here. Okay, so we've got all that beautiful pine detail pressed now into our craft cardstock. So if you had a bunch of these cut, you could obviously mass produce a lot. You could go ahead and if you wanted to do the shading here and there, you could do that. Now, what do you guys think? So do you think that I should add the shading to this one? I'm almost thinking that I leave this one plain because we have the beautiful patterned paper behind it. So it's going to look something like this. Now, if I'm wrapping my packages at home, this is kind of the style that I go for. I'm very like classic Christmas red and green with a little black thrown in there. And I'm really liking this one. This is a 3D embossing folder, Linda. So this is called Snowy Pines. And you can see, let me hold it up here. You can see how what's on the good side, I'm going to call that, where you're going to get all of that puffy detail. And then even the back side of these is beautiful as well. It's just going to make your pine cones dip down. Instead of the other side, they're going to be nice and puffy and look 3D. Even those little snowflakes or little things here and there are going to be puffy on that side. Okay, so I think for this one, I'm going to leave it just kind of classic and leave it as is, but it is really easy to do some shading. And all you have to do on that is take, you know, whatever color that you want for your pines and for your pine cones, and then just very lightly hit those raised areas like so. And that's what's going to make the green stand out, because the bristles on your brush are going to hit those really nice raised areas. And you can see here where the embossing folder is giving that paper the 3D effect, because where I have the darker green right in here, that's going to be the most raised area. You can tell here on the ends of the little pine sprigs and the little pine needles where it's not nearly as green. That's because those pine needles are, for lack of a better word, they're dipping down into the paper, so they're not raised up as much as some of the areas right in here. And so if you just lightly color like this with the bristles of your brush, you're going to hit those really high spots, and you're going to be able to shade in, you know, little areas here and there. And I did this very same thing with the pine cones and gathered twigs. So that's all you have to do if you want to shade in your paper. Let's see, how about lightly dragging white ink over the embossed craft paper? We could totally do that on this one, but I'm actually going to play with a white ink on the next one. So I'll show you what that looks like on the next one. I think for this one, I'm going to leave it just as is. So let's go ahead and I'm going to get my adhesive going here, and I'm going to hit these little areas that don't have a lot of embossing on there, because that's going to better help this design connect to the paper underneath. So let's take that and just some little dots here and there. And then I'm going to line up my design. And then I'm going to press down just lightly with my fingers like so. And I'm going to let that liquid adhesive really do its job there. Like that. Let's let all of it kind of get connected here. And then you can add baker's twine. You can add, you know, whatever color ribbon you want to. You can poke a hole here to tie it around a bigger bow on your packages, whatever. On this one, I'm going to add a big old bow of some ribbon that I have had in my stash for years and years. And I am going to add that with some of our liquid adhesive right up here. And I'm going to add a big dot of glue. I'm going to set that right there on the top, just like so. And then I'm going to take my pinchy tweezers and I'm going to pinch the whole thing down, just like so. And I'm going to set this whole thing aside for now. While that is drying, I am going to take what's going to be the back side of my tag. So this may be where you want to put to, from, whatever that you like to write or stamp on the back of your tag. Here I've just got some craft cardstock, and in my MISTI I have "With Love on Christmas," and I'm going to stamp that in our intense black ink, and that's just going to coordinate with the black paper on the front. You can see I've used the same label die, and so let's ink that up. But this would be easy to mass produce because you could, you know, stamp a bunch of shapes, whether you're using circles or whatever. Let's get that down there really good. And stamp a bunch. And then when it's time to give a gift or whatever, all you have to do, I usually write. I'll write, you know, to Mom from Kelley or whoever, to Lisa from Kelley. And so now I've got this. I'm going to set that one aside. Now, while I'm stamping, I'm going to stamp the same sentiment on the back of this one. Now, if you'll notice, this looks like white paper, but if I flip it over, it is our pattern paper for the next tag. And that's because I'm being thrifty. You guys know that I love to hoard my paper. That is the inside of my little frame. So we're using up all of our scraps for this. What I did is I glued white paper to the back of my pattern paper to make it more sturdy. I'm using the frame for the front of my tag, and I'm using the leftover or what was cut out, and I could use this side and stamp that, or you could use the white side. So when we put it all together, we're going to have a nice little polka dot frame on one side, and on the back side, you can either have it like so, and stamp with Love on Christmas, or you can flip it over and have a white and, have with Love on Christmas from Kelley on the back side. So you could do it either way. But while I've got my Misty out, I'm going to stamp that with Love on Christmas. I'm going to stamp the same thing. You could stamp it in blue. You could stamp it in black. You could heat emboss, whatever you wanted to do. Let's give that some extra love right there. And then we'll get going. Okay. So we're using up all of our scraps, all of our paper. Let me get this pulled up here. And again, I'm going to set this right up there. Let that ink dry while we're working on our embossing. Now, while our pine is kind of drying and our bow is setting up over here, let's go ahead and let's work on our blue or our snowy tag. So lots of people go, classic Christmas, but some I know like blues and silvers and things like that in their decor. Well, let's take our blue pattern paper and let's set that in with our snowflakes. So you can set it in anywhere and you can kind of close the door and you'll be able to see and arrange your tag wherever you want that design to be. So if you want a big old snowflake, you could put it down here and get it like that. If you like this one up here, well, you could set it up there. So you can kind of arrange your paper to decide, where you want everything to hit. I think I'm going to run it through just like that. We'll get a little bit of everything, the big ones and the small ones. And let's run that through. Ooh, the blue is great for Hanukkah tags. Great idea. Okay, so let's pull that out. And then let's pull this out. And then now we've got our blue snowflakes all ready to go. Now this is where I'm going to get a little more fancy, not super fancy. It still is going to be easy, but this is where I'm going to brush on some ink. Now you could use white ink. I'm going to use white this evening. You could use our silver metallic ink. You could do lunar paste and make it shimmery. So many different things. Whatever you have in your craft room is what you should use. Make it easy peasy. I'm going to take one of these domed distress ink blender tools that I haven't used in years and years, because normally I use my Honeybee Stamps blending brushes. I'm going to try this with our white ink. I'm wondering if the little dome is going to hit, and see what we're going to get here. And I'm just going to carefully I'm barely kissing that ink of the sponge onto those little snowflakes. And so we're going to hit those raised areas again. And some areas are going to be darker than others because they're more raised in the design than others. That's what gives it that 3D effect. So I'm just going to keep going over here and highlighting little areas. Make sure we get all of our little snowflakes. Let's see, that is looking really pretty. I really like the way that looks. So I'm going to set my white ink aside and my little domed brush aside. Now that I have all that all done, let's go ahead and let's glue down our little frame. And you could use silver glitter paper. You could really, the sky's the limit on tags, especially because I like to pull out anything and everything that I think might go on a Christmas card or a Christmas tag. I pull out all the sparkly ribbons. I pull out all the glitter. I pull out all the things. And I usually make some kind of tray or bin or something. And that way, as I'm doing my holiday crafting, I'm going to take my little tweezers off here. I can pull out and use anything and everything that I want to use while I'm creating for the holidays. I'm going to put that on my little frame, and I'm going to kind of scooch it around here. Let's go ahead and hold it up. I'm going to use my fingers to kind of hold that and press that into place with my paper that's on the back side. And I'm going to let that liquid adhesive really grab hold of that raised pattern on the other side. Let's see here. Okay. Now this one, I'm going to make more into a classic tag. I'm going to punch a hole in it. I'm going to add some sparkly ribbon that I've got in my stash. And we're going to go from there. Okay. So this is the way that I've got this one here. Do you see how if you wanted to add like glitter and shimmer and stuff like that around the edges, that would be really cute too. This would be really pretty on a masculine gift as well, with the blue and the kind of more subdued frame around the edges. Okay, I've got my big old crocodile here, and I'm going to punch my hole right about in there for my ribbon. And you know what I need to do? I need to hold this up, and I'm going to punch this one. No, actually, I'm going to glue it down. I should have done that first, but I'm going to glue this down, and then I'm going to punch again. So let's do that. Let's set that down, and let's hold this up here, and I'm going to press that into place. Oh, hello. I didn't even know I pushed that. But let's go back to there. I'm just chatting away with you guys. There we go. And let's see. Is everybody blue and silver? Yep, I do the same thing. Okay, everybody does their little trays. Let's see here. Midnight, very dark blue. Yes. Okay. I'm getting all that pressed into place. And because I've already punched this hole, I can just reline it. Let me make sure I'm getting the correct side here. I'm going to reline it up and look through my little thing and then just repunch it. And then it goes all the way through. Okay. So I'm going to add to this one this really kind of fun, fuzzy ribbon, and I pull this out every year. I've probably had, you see how sad this little spool is? I've probably had this spool of whatever this stuff is for probably 20 years, and I pull it out every Christmas and put it in my like maker's stash because it's fun to use, especially on like snowy snowflake cards, because it has this like iridescent like eyelash looking stuff. But I like to put it with my snowflake cards and my snowflake tags and everything like that. I'm going to pull it, make a loop, and then kind of gently pull it through. Just like that. And then I like to leave these loose, and I can tie them on to a package or whatever I want it to go on. Okay, now for this one, let's go ahead and work on this one. I have just a white snowflake. Now, if I hold this up in my hands, you can see that this is one of our lovely layers, large snowflakes. So it's just white paper. So you could again use the same white paper as we attach to that, like a scrap. But instead, you know, I'm never going to leave something just as is. I'm going to add some liquid adhesive. And let's see, I'm going to use my good old fingers for this. So I'm going to add some little dabs, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to use my fingers, and I'm just going to cover this little white snowflake. And it's going to be hard for you to see probably for a second because of my white background. I'm going to pick it up, clean up my mess, and then I'm going to take a coffee filter just like I would use if I'm heat embossing. But this time, I am going to cover this with my Distress Clear Rock candy. And you can see it's in a different container, probably because if you want a little story time as we're glittering all the things, I have a really naughty dog that eats all the containers. She's eaten an embossing powder container. She's eaten my Clear Rock candy container. And I love her, but she's naughty. And so I poured it all into another container. And then now I've got this really pretty, like shimmery snowflake that I can just add just like so right on the front of this. I'm going to glue that on the front. You could pop it up if you wanted to do that with like some foam adhesive or foam dots or whatever. I'm just going to be easy peasy here, and I'm going to glue that down. Let's just do right in the center, just like that. And I'm going to keep going here and make sure it's all kind of nicely lined up. Let's leave these kind of a little spiky, just like so. Okay, and then we've got an easy peasy tag that really looks maybe a little fancy with the snowflakes back here, but it wasn't hard to do any of that at all. Find you some shimmery ribbon in the Christmas department, or wherever Christmas section of your store. And then we've got a really nice tag to add to something. Okay, now, since we're kind of doing assembly line here, and you can see this is a totally different feel than this. So totally, like, you could do pink snowflakes if you wanted to, turquoise, blue and silver glitter, whatever. This is totally more classic. So if you're a more classic kind of person, then we've got some pattern paper. We've got all that. We do have to add our With Love on Christmas, because we can always, put our signature on there. I'm going to glue this down, put this on, and shimmy it around. And I really like how this kind of sweater pattern paper kind of shows right around the edges of this. And I'm going to push that down. And there's a helicopter going over my house right now. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but my husband flies helicopters, and I can always pick out that sound in my, I can tell when something's going over. Okay, now this is an older buzzword. Do you guys remember our buzzword dies? Well, this is the buzzword Joy. It is still available. So if you wanted to pick this up, this is our 3 layers. And I initially cut the white background to go with it. But when I held it up, the white was taken too much away from my little tag design. So I'm not going to go with the white background, but I'm going to use the glittery red scripty word. I'm going to add some glue, and then we're going to glue that right down. Let me change grips here, and I'm going to glue it right in here. And you can see how this is just going to be like classic Christmas. If you wanted to cut that in green, you could cut it in, black glitter, even if you wanted to do that. I am going to hold this up and make sure that we're kind of nice and straight here. But that, and then I don't want to forget my little tittle, or my little dot to my J. And I'm going to add that right up here. There we go. And then now we have got kind of a more classic Christmas. This would be pretty added to a big gift, a bottle of wine. If you had like a little loop or a ribbon or twine with Love on Christmas, I can sign, my name on the back. But this is just very, very classic Christmas. And then we've got what we can really like do any kind of color with our pink snowflakes. You could cut the snowflake, the lovely layer snowflake out of glitter paper. If you didn't want to make your own, you could add clear rock candy or something back in here to the background. You really can just have fun with these embossing folders and make them any color, shape, size. Like I mentioned, if you wanted circles here, if you've got circle dies or rectangles or whatever, the sky's the limit. You could make it anything you wanted to. Okay, now let's talk about how we could make this into a card. I'm sure all of my friends over here, you're already seeing it, right? How we could make this into a card. Well, we use our pattern paper, we use our craft, we can use our embossing folder, add a beautiful sentiment on an A2 size card or even a white card base. And then easy peasy, you've got a Christmas card. Instead of adding maybe a big old red bow, you add some red and white baker's twine to that, or, tie it around, loop it around and make a little bow, and you've got a really pretty Christmas card. Same thing with our snowflakes here. Any size you want, you can emboss your snowflakes, add that to a pretty blue or white card base. Add your lovely layers snowflakes and maybe some kind of pretty, what is that? Like silver embroidery floss or all those things that we pull out during the holidays. Tie and add that to a card with some pretty silver sequins or your gems or pearls or something like that, and then add a beautiful sentiment, and you've got a really wonderful snowflake card. So anything that we're going to do with our 12 tags of Christmas, you could totally incorporate and change that and do a card design as well. So easy peasy lemon squeezy. We're going to have a lot of fun creating a lot of fun cards. And I hope not that you need to repeat or recreate these tags, but hopefully it will give you some ideas. And say, this is gorgeous with the red and white ribbon bow. And I know Lisa and I and my daughter Emily were just talking about, because this bow is the last I have of that ribbon. And we were talking about, do we Google search, like the image search? How do I find more of this red and white ribbon? Because I use it at least once a year on a tag or on a card or something. And so you can see we've got two totally different styles here. You add whatever you like. That is what is so fun, I think, about tags. And tags feel like really forgiving to me, because if that's the right word, because you loop it on, you tie it to a little gift, it's like they're not as what's the right word for it? I don't know. Like they're more forgiving for some reason. You whip it up, you put it together real quick, because they're going to go get tied to a gift or stuck and taped down to a gift. And then it's easy peasy. You just kind of whip it up and put it on a bottle of wine or a little gift, and wham bam, not damn, you're done. Let's see. Have you ever tried Hobby Lobby? They may have some. It's not wired ribbon. It's that like fabricy, like rograin, whatever you call it, ribbon. And so there you go. Let's see, you could have a sleeve to the back and make those tags into a gift card holder too. Totally. Yes. Rolling the floor. Thank you. I don't say bad words on here, but that one just slipped out unexpectedly. Yes. Let's see here. Rograin. Yes. Let's see. Yay, catching you like, hello. Rograin. Yes. However you say that. I'm never going to say it right. And I'm talking about wham, bam, and saying the wrong word and all the things. But I know Lisa is rolling in the floor herself. Someone is going to have to share the link from Etsy with the ribbon. Oh, please share that in the comments or on our group or something. Hobby Lobby sells non-wire ribbon. I need to check that, probably in the fabric section. I bet they do. Okay. All right, you guys. And if you guys, I want to tell you this. If you have not, Joanne's too, if you have not joined our Buzzworthy Challenge group on Facebook, That's where Gail shared, or not Gail, Miss Lori, see Miss Lori's name here? She shared her card. But I would love, like, all of our ideas and like little tag things, and you guys always are talking about links and things like that. If you'll come join our challenge group, that is an amazing place to share like all of our little ideas and things like that. Is over on this challenge group right here on the screen. Honeybee Stamps Buzzworthy Challenges. I just put up a brand new challenge today for the month of November, and it's all about texture. And so things like this about adding texture with like embossing folders and die cuts and glitter even is a texture. The fabric bow is a texture. Glitter paper. That's where we share all these little ideas and all kinds of things, and then it won't be lost like in the comments there to the side. So it's a great way for all of us to kind of share our ideas and your cards and all the things like that. So I would love to have you guys come join me there. Okay. All right, you guys, it is time to have our giveaway for this evening. So Lisa, if you want to choose a friend that is going to be our giveaway winner for tonight, I don't ever see the challenge. I have tagged it to the top of the screen in the featured area. Oh, wrong one. Rachel Harris, you are the winner. Somebody says you can't ever find it. It is, let me show you. So this is on my phone. This is on the challenge group. So Rachel's our winner. So if you'll email me, Kelley, Kelley at honeybeestamps.com. But those of you that can't find what the challenge is. So I'm going to click here because it's going to take me back to the Buzzworthy Challenge group. Okay. So if we go up here, so this is on my phone. See, Honeybee Stamps Buzzworthy Challenges. And if you go, usually it's the very first thing that you see where it says November challenge. But if you can't find it, if you will push featured, and you'll see featured. We'll let it think here for a second. Okay. And you'll see where today's post all about the November challenge, that is going to be in the featured section because I always like pin it to the top where everybody will see it. And then you'll start seeing where you can place your photos or the things that you're submitting for the challenge. You can place it in the comments. So if you'll notice, I will go here and we'll push comments. And we've already got friends that are commenting and we're chatting in here. I would love for you guys to come and join me and put your card photos and everything like that. And you'll all kinds of things are featured in there. But that's where I always will put the challenge for that month is in the featured section. So you'll see the winner from last month was Miss Tammy. You know, our design team postcards in there. So there's just lots of fun things going on there in there. That's also the place if you're looking for a specific retired stamp set or die set, that is the place to go ask. So because there's lots of us friends in there, there is design team in there. Let's see here. Kelley, can you clean up the features? There are not always the newest on the top for me. I can try. That may be, I can try to do that. I can try to unpin the other one and just leave whatever the newest challenge is. I'll do that. Okay. All right. So join us next Monday for the next tags. I'm going to do more elaborate tags. So maybe for a really special gift or for like a hostess thing where you're only going to make like one or two. That's what we're going to do on Tuesday. Okay. And then for our winner, Rachel, you probably already have my email address, but it's Kelley, Kelley at honeybeestamps.com. If you'll email me, I will make sure you get your prize. Okay. Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining me and join us next week for more tags. Bye-bye.